The snow drifted gently through the evening air, turning the city into a blur of white and gold beneath the streetlights. On a half-buried bus stop bench sat 23-year-old Hannah Mitchell, her arms wrapped around herself, trying to trap what little warmth she had left. The beige lace dress she wore once belonged to a better life, one filled with laughter, warmth, and a place to call home. Now it was nothing more than a fragile memory clinging to her in the cold. 3 months ago, Hannah had aged out of the foster care system with no family, no savings, and nowhere to go. She had a college degree in education, a symbol of hope once, but without references or a real address, no one would hire her. Every day was a new fight for survival. Every night, a search for a safe corner to rest. As the wind picked up, she pulled her thin shawl tighter, her breath fogging the air. Snowflakes floated down like tiny miracles, each one perfect, each one doomed to vanish. She stared at them and whispered almost to herself, "Guess we're kind of alike." That's when she saw her. A little girl, no older than 4, marching down the sidewalk with surprising purpose. The child wore a bright red coat and a gray hat topped with a fuzzy pom-pom that bounced as she walked. In her small, mittened hands, she clutched a brown paper bag as if it held treasure. Hannah glanced around, searching for the child's parents, and spotted a man a few yards away. Lost in his phone, his voice sharp and distracted. No one else was near. Her instincts, sharpened by too many nights in danger, screamed that something wasn't right. "Sweetheart," Hannah called softly, trying not to startle her. "Where's your mommy or daddy?" The girl stopped, studying her with curious, intelligent eyes. "My daddy's over there," she said, pointing at the man with the phone. "He's talking to work people again." Then, with a shy smile, she added, "I saw you sitting here, and I thought you might be hungry." Before Hannah could speak, the little girl stepped closer and held out the bag. "I saved half my sandwich from lunch. Daddy says sharing is important, especially when it's cold outside," the little girl added, her voice soft but sure. Hannah blinked fast, fighting back tears that threatened to spill. It had been so long since anyone, let alone a child, had shown her such kindness. "That's very sweet of you, honey," she said gently. "But I can't take your food. You need it so you can grow big and strong." The girl tilted her head, studying Hannah with curious thoughtfulness. "What's your name?" she asked. "I'm Hannah," she replied, touched by how natural the child's warmth felt. "And you?" "Lucy," the girl said proudly. Hannah smiled, the name rolling softly off her tongue. "Lucy. That's a beautiful name." Lucy looked at her with the serious, almost grown-up gaze children sometimes have when they're about to ask something important. "Hannah, are you sad because you don't have a house to go to when it snows?" The question hit like a whisper straight to the heart. Hannah's smile faltered. She looked away, snowflakes melting on her lashes. "Yes, Lucy," she admitted quietly. "I don't have a house right now, but I'm trying to find one." Lucy nodded solemnly, as though this was something she completely understood. Then she said, with a certainty that froze the air around them, "You need a home, and I need a mommy." Hannah's breath caught. Lucy continued matter-of-factly, "My mommy went to heaven when I was little. Daddy gets really sad sometimes. Maybe we can help each other." The simplicity of those words shattered something deep inside Hannah, something that had been locked away by loneliness and loss. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Lucy, that's the most beautiful idea I've ever heard. But grown-up things aren't that simple. Your daddy might not want a stranger to be part of your family." Lucy frowned for a second, then her eyes brightened. "Daddy says the best people are the ones who are kind when no one's watching. You were sitting here being kind to the snow, talking to it like it was your friend. I think that means you're a good person." Before Hannah could respond, a man's panicked voice cut through the cold night. "Lucy, He was scanning the street, his phone forgotten, his expression turning from fear to relief the moment he saw his daughter waving. "I'm here, Daddy," Lucy called out, grinning. "I made a new friend." The man hurried over, his steps crunching on the snow. Up close, Hannah saw the exhaustion etched into his features. Early 30s, kind eyes shadowed by sleepless nights, the unmistakable weight of single fatherhood. "Lucy, you can't wander off like that," the man said gently but firmly as he reached them, his breath visible in the freezing air. "I was so worried." "I'm sorry, Daddy," Lucy replied, clutching his coat. "But look, I found Hannah, and she needs a family. And we need a mommy. It's like a puzzle that fits together perfectly." Hannah quickly rose to her feet, embarrassed. "Oh, no, please don't worry," she said hurriedly. "I made sure she stayed close. She was just being kind, offering to share her food with me." The man's sternness softened as he looked at her more closely. His eyes, a deep shade of gray, carried the quiet understanding of someone who'd fought his own battles. "Please don't apologize," he said. "Lucy has always had a gift for finding people who need kindness." He extended a gloved hand. "I'm David." "Hannah," she replied, shaking it gently, noticing how his voice carried both warmth and exhaustion. There was something deeply reassuring about the way he spoke about his daughter's compassion, as if it were a treasure, not a burden. Lucy tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, Hannah's been sleeping outside in the snow." "That's not safe!" "Can she come home with us? She could use the guest room and read me bedtime stories, since you're always too tired after work." David's expression wavered. He looked from his daughter to Hannah, clearly torn. Hannah could almost feel the thoughts racing through his mind. Protectiveness clashing with the desire to show his child that goodness matters. "Lucy, sweetheart," he began carefully. "It's not that simple." "Actually," Hannah interrupted softly, "Lucy's heart is beautiful. But she's right, grown-up things are complicated. I'd never want to make either of you uncomfortable." David studied her for a long moment. It wasn't suspicion, more like quiet evaluation, the kind that came from years of reading people's truths. Finally, he nodded slowly. "Hannah," he said, his tone gentle but certain, "this might sound a little unusual, but would you be willing to come get some hot coffee while we figure this out? There's a diner around the corner. And Lucy's right. No one should be sleeping outside in this weather." Hannah hesitated for only a moment before nodding. 10 minutes later, they were seated in a small, warm diner, the windows fogged with steam and the smell of coffee wrapping around them like a blanket. Over bowls of soup, Hannah listened as David explained that he worked as a social worker, helping young adults transition out of foster care. Her spoon paused mid-air. "You help people like me?" she asked softly. He smiled sadly. "Every day. The system fails too many good people trying to start over." Across the table, Lucy giggled as Hannah helped her color a rainbow on the paper placemat. For the first time in months, Hannah felt something stir in her chest. Something she hadn't dared feel in a long time. Hope. "There just aren't enough resources," David said quietly, stirring his coffee. "Not enough support. And definitely not enough people who understand that someone's circumstances don't define their worth." Hannah listened, her chest tightening with the truth in his words. Slowly, she found herself opening up, something she hadn't done in months. She told him about her degree in education, how she loved working with children, and the dream she once had of becoming a teacher before life took everything off course. David's eyes didn't waver. He listened the way people rarely do anymore, fully, without judgment. For the first time in a long while, Hannah felt seen. "You know," he said thoughtfully after a pause, "our school district has been searching for substitute teachers. The pay's modest, but it's steady work. It could be your way back in, maybe even lead to something permanent. Before Hannah could reply, Lucy looked up from her coloring, her eyes lighting with an idea. And she can live in our guest room until she gets her own house. Then she can still come for dinner and read me stories. Hannah smiled, half amused, half overwhelmed. Across the table, she met David's gaze, and in that shared look, something unspoken passed between them. Lucy's solution might have sounded impossibly simple, but deep down, it felt right. "Hannah," David said slowly, choosing his words, "I know this isn't conventional, but Lucy has a good sense about people, and I trust that. If you're willing, you could stay with us for a while. I can help you get connected with the school district. No strings attached. Just one person helping another find their footing again." Hannah's throat tightened. Gratitude, disbelief, and hope collided all at once. I don't even know what to say," she whispered. "Say yes," Lucy giggled. 6 months later, Hannah stood at the front of her very own first-grade classroom, sunlight spilling across the rows of tiny desks. She was now a full-time teacher at the same elementary school where Lucy attended kindergarten. The guest room at David's house had long since stopped feeling temporary. It was home. Most afternoons, Lucy would appear at her classroom door, her backpack half-zipped and her smile wide. She'd help erase the chalkboard, chatter about her day, and beam with pride when other teachers called Hannah Miss Mitchell. Their bond had grown into something deeper, something that felt like family. And David, he had become more than a friend.